A Nobel Prize for banking? I mean, really? It sounds so ordinary. Kind of like winning an Oscar for, I don't know, best on-set catering. But what we're going to explore today is why this seemingly boring topic is actually this incredible story of panic, collapse, and the few brilliant ideas that keep our entire world from falling apart.
So, back in 2022, the Nobel Prize in Economics went to three guys: Ben Bernanke, Douglas Diamond, and Philip Dybvig. And the official reason was for their research on banks and financial crises. Now come on, we all use banks. We've all heard of financial crises. It feels like something we already get, right?
And that's the real puzzle here. What on earth did they figure out that was so groundbreaking it deserved that level of recognition? What hidden, fragile truth about our money did they uncover? To get that, we've got to go right back to the beginning.
Okay, so to understand why their work is so important, we have to start with this fundamental conflict that's right at the heart of any economy, whether it's a huge global system or just a tiny village.
You see, you can really just boil the whole thing down to two essential groups of people. And the key thing is, their financial goals are complete polar opposites.
All right, on one side, you've got savers. That's you, that's me. We put our money away, and we want two really simple things. We want it to be safe, and we want to be able to get it back right now if we need it. We want liquidity. But on the other side, you've got borrowers. Think about a business that needs to build a factory, or a family trying to buy a house. They need huge loans for a really long time. We're talking 30 years. So you see the problem, right? It's a total mismatch. Savers want short-term instant access. Borrowers need long-term locked-in money. How can you possibly make both happen?
So how do we solve this puzzle? Well, the answer is an invention so common that we just take it for granted: the bank.
Now, the fancy, formal term for this is financial intermediation. All it means is that the bank stands in the middle. It pools all of our short-term savings together, and then, almost like magic, it transforms them into the long-term loans that build everything around us. It's like an economic miracle machine.
And this process is, without a doubt, the engine of all economic growth. But, and this is the crucial part, this is what those Nobel laureates really focused on. This incredible engine has a tiny, hidden, and deeply dangerous flaw in its design.
And that flaw brings us to the most dramatic part of this entire story: the bank run. This is that moment where the system's hidden weakness just explodes out into the open for everyone to see.
So this flaw exists because of something called fractional reserve banking. Sounds a little technical, but it's a really simple idea. A bank doesn't keep all your money sitting in a vault. It would go broke. Instead, it only keeps a small fraction of it on hand in cash. All the rest, it gets lent out. That's how banks make money, and it's how they fuel the economy. But it also creates a terrifying vulnerability.
Just think about it for a second. What happens if a huge number of people show up at the exact same time and all demand their cash back? The money, it's just not there. It's been turned into someone's 30-year mortgage or a loan for a new factory. You can't get it back instantly.
This is the terrifying domino effect that Diamond and Dybvig modeled so perfectly. It can start with just a whisper, a rumor. A few nervous people decide, you know what, I'm going to pull my money out, just in case. But then other people see that line forming outside the bank, and the line itself becomes the proof that the rumor was true. So they join the line, and the panic just builds and builds into this tidal wave, and pretty soon the bank is out of cash. It collapses.
And this is the profound killer insight at the heart of their research. A bank run is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The bank didn't even have to be in trouble to start with. The collective fear that it might collapse is the very thing that causes it to collapse. It's a crisis of pure confidence.
And look, this is not just some academic theory. This is where Ben Bernanke's research into the Great Depression was so unbelievably important. He showed that this exact thing, these cascading bank failures, was what turned a regular recession into a global catastrophe that lasted a decade. Over 9,000 banks in the US just failed, wiping out the life savings of millions and just starving the economy of money.
So, the system is fundamentally fragile. That's terrifying. But the story doesn't end there. The real beauty of this research is that by identifying the weakness, it also showed us exactly how to build a shield to protect ourselves.
And here is the genius, kind of counterintuitive solution. You don't fix the problem by trying to make banks invincible. That's just impossible. No, you fix it by taking away the reason for us to panic in the first place.
So the first pillar of this shield is deposit insurance. In the US, you've probably heard of it as the FDIC.
It is a simple but incredibly powerful promise from the government that says, hey, even if your bank completely fails, your money is safe up to a certain amount. As soon as you know your money is guaranteed, the incentive to run to the bank just vanishes. The self-fulfilling prophecy is stopped dead in its tracks before it can even start.
The second pillar is having the central bank act as a lender of last resort. Basically, this means that if a bank is actually healthy but is just getting hit by a short-term panic, the central bank can step in and provide emergency cash loans. This stops the bank from having to sell off all its good long-term investments for pennies on the dollar, and it prevents the panic from spreading to other banks.
These two ideas, deposit insurance and a lender of last resort, they're like the invisible architecture holding up our entire financial world. They're the reason you don't have to worry about the money in your checking account. They are the tools governments use to stop financial panics from turning into another Great Depression. The whole thing boils down to replacing fear with trust.
So, a Nobel Prize for banking? Yeah, absolutely. Because these ideas took a system that was fundamentally built on a knife's edge and made it resilient. But here's a final thought for you. This whole framework was designed for the world of 20th century banking. In an age of crypto, of instant global digital money, of shadow banking, what do the new kinds of bank runs look like? And what new, Nobel-worthy ideas are we going to need to stop them?